hey, the Roman soldiers were brutal Roman soldiers. No, it wasn't the Roman soldiers that caught Jesus. It was the temple officers. In fact, it was the high priest. It was the people that served in the temple of God that had become so familiar with the things of God. They had become so familiar with the work of God. They became so familiar with the house of God that when Jesus came among them, they did not recognize him. And that is the same danger that today you and I face. That we can be so involved in the church. We can be so proud that we were born in a Christian house. We can be so proud that we have a Christian name. We can be so religious that we can claim that it's 10 years or 20 or 30 years that you've never missed a Sunday service and that you're faithful in the house of God, yet become so familiar with the things of God that when Jesus comes, you don't even recognize him, to the point, be the person that crucified Jesus. And that is a very strange truth that we have to face tonight, that so that we might not be the one that crucified Jesus. In fact, what pained my heart is, if you study the scriptures, throughout the scriptures, you will see that our forefathers, right starting from the Old Testament, were in a habit of rejecting God. It started in the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve rejected God by their action. Then you will see throughout the Israelites, they kept questioning God. They kept doubting God. They kept rejecting God. In fact, they said, we don't want this God to speak to us. In fact, they chose a prophet over the voice of God. And after that, they chose a king over a prophet. After that, they rebelled against the king. After that, they rebelled against the judges. We are a rebellious generation. Rebellious. Rebellion is part of our DNA. Until we recognize it and expose it and slay it, we are at the risk of crucifying Jesus ourselves. How do we crucify Jesus ourselves? You can be so religious, and yet take Jesus for granted. So maybe you may not have nailed a nail into the hands of Jesus, but any time you take Jesus for granted in your life, in your daily life, you are doing the same thing that the religious people did. You are rejecting Jesus. So it is important for us to say that our life, our walk with God must be a relationship and not just a religious activity. What happened to these precious people is that they followed God so hard in the things that they needed to do. They said, hey, I have followed the Sabbath, I've worn the right thing, I've said the right thing, I've gone to the right place. They followed a group of principles, but they forgot that God was looking at their heart. I want to show you practically how you can stay away from the religious spirit and how you can walk in victory. So first thing that I want to show you is that if you look at Peter, he was among those people that caught Jesus. But there was so much fear in his heart that he served Jesus. He said, hey, I love Jesus, but I don't have enough confidence to stay near him. Because if I get near enough to Jesus, I will have to risk my life. Jesus said, you cannot love me unless you lay down your life. The only way the church today, we can love Jesus is by laying our life down. There is no such thing as comfortable Christianity, because Jesus is not asking for 80% of your heart. Jesus is not asking for 90% of your heart. Jesus is asking for unexcused 100% commitment from all of us. 100%. Look at your neighbor and say 100%. 100. But Peter said, hey, I love you, but I don't love you enough to lay my life down. If you look at the verse, it says, Peter followed him from a distance. That's my second point for tonight. You cannot follow Jesus at a distance. Can I repeat that? You and I, we cannot follow Jesus at a distance. Some people want to have a safe distance. Some people want to say, you know what, I really love Jesus, but not to the point where I'm ready to lay my life down. I love Jesus, but not to the point where my friends can make fun of me. I love Jesus, but I don't want to tell anybody on Facebook that I love Jesus. I'm ashamed to carry my Bible. I'm ashamed to put on Facebook that I love Jesus. I'm going to just act like I look like everybody. I want to be comfortable. I love you, Jesus. You know what? I'm actually following Jesus, but I'm going to follow him from a distance. If you ask Peter, Peter will tell you, my biggest problem came from the fact that I decided to follow Jesus from a distance. The danger of denying Jesus began the moment he decided to say, hey, I don't have 100% commitment. I got 50% commitment. 50-50. I mean, I want to have a safe distance. I don't want to be caught. I want to be far enough that I can escape if I want to escape. That's how many people approach God. They don't want to give full commitment. They don't want to say, God, you love me so much. Not only am I going to come to church, not only am I going to enjoy the worship, I'm going to live for you. I'm going to ask you to come into my heart. And I'm not only going to get saved, I am going to be baptized. I'm going to tell the whole world I love Jesus, and there is no turning back. You cannot follow Jesus from a distance. Because this is the thing. Anytime you leave a distance between you and Jesus, that is a space where the enemy creeps in. Any space between you and Jesus is a space where the enemy creeps in. Tonight, I pray that there will be no space between you and Jesus. I pray tonight there will be no break between you and Jesus. Tonight, let there be no vacation from Jesus. Even in your vacation, may you love Jesus like nobody else. Oh, may you never be a Sunday Christian. May you love Jesus on a Monday and a Tuesday and a Wednesday, on a sad day, on a bad day, on any day. May you be a Jesus lover.